Welcome to Green Borders Online Magazine. I'd like to introduce Mr. Tony Quantrill from Fair Trade, and I'd just like to ask you, we are in the second week of Fair Trade Fortnight, and just like to know, how is it going?
I think it's going very well so far. We've had lots of different events. We've had lots of good coverage in the media. People are really kind of, sort of engaging and picking up and getting our story out there. And as far as I'm aware, we've had something like 150,000 steps registered on our website, and the theme of this year is Take a Step for Fair Trade, and people have been asked to take whatever step they can, whether that's just swapping one of their normal ingredients, buying something fair trade for the first time, or asking their workplace to sort of go completely fair trade in the products that they provide. So yeah, going well.
So is that how you would monitor its success then, by perhaps that particular theme that you are manifesting at the moment?
In the UK, we like to sort of think in terms of, are people aware of fair trade, do people understand it, and are they taking action to support it? So in the UK, that's very much how we try and move forward. But the really critical thing in terms of success is how much benefit are we pushing back to producers at the other end. Right,
okay, thank you for that. What is the criteria to certify a product as fair trade?
To be fair trade, the product needs to have been produced in a certain way according to a set of standards, and those standards are set according to the product, according to the country or the region, and they will include a set of environmental standards, social standards in terms of meeting kind of social requirements on workplaces. It may involve reducing use of pesticides or fertilizers. So there are a very clear set of standards by which that product will have been produced, and those are based on the idea of a sustainable production. And then I think what really distinguishes fair trade is that on top of those standards and that production standards, there is a trade standard, so that when that product is sold by the farmer for the first time, they get a fair price, defined as the sustainable price or cost of production, and they also get a premium on top of that, so they get a payment that will be reinvested in the community. And in the case of small-scale farmers, the other thing that you'll know is that farmer is part of a cooperative, so we work with large cooperatively organised farmers groups, and that helps us both sort of engage at scale, but we also think it brings a lot of other benefits to the farmers in terms of kind of knowledge and sharing and the ability to invest in their own communities more effectively.
You've told us about the advantages of fair trade. Are there any disadvantages?
Well, you're not going to expect me to say there's a lot. I mean, there are obviously. A lot of farmers would like to sell more of their product on fair trade terms, so farmers will invest in coming into the system. It's not as expensive as you'll often hear in the press, so it can actually be a relatively small investment, although it can also be an investment not just in money but in time. So the farmers or the farmer organisation will come into the fair trade system, they will produce on against fair trade standards, and sometimes they're not able to sell as much as they would like, which is why we're so keen in during Fair Trade Fortnight to kind of get people aware, get people buying fair trade, so we can expand the market and allow those farmers to sell more.
Are there any other similar organisations as to fair trade?
Well, we believe fair trade is unique, and that point about the getting a fair price and the premium is the unique aspect. So no other sort of similar standard or certification takes that approach of making it making the trading standard. The other thing that's unique is the way it's governed and managed. So fair trade is actually owned in large part by the producers, so they have seats on the boards, and they're engaged in the ownership of the whole movement, and they have a big say in how it evolves. So that's the other part of fair trade that I think is unique.
Does fair trade encourage organic farming?
Yes, it does. There is I talked about the premium, so the farmer gets a premium on top of the fair price. That premium's larger in most cases where they meet organic standards. So fair trade environmental standards are quite a long way down the road towards organic, but they are not fully organic. So it's not always something we want to kind of impose upon people if they don't want to go that extra step. But where they do, and where they've gone and are able to get full organic certification, they actually obtain an additional premium for their product.
In what aspect does fair trade take responsibility for the environment?
Well, like I say, the standards of production are include a number of environmental criteria, so the use of pesticides, herbicides, inputs, water management, and so on, and sort of, as I say, sort of quite close to organic. So there is something in the way that it's produced. But actually, I think the most critical thing here is the calculation of a fair price to include sustainable cost of production. Because if the farmer is not able to farm sustainably and to reinvest in their farm and increase productivity in a way that works for them, then ultimately I don't think you're talking about sustainable agriculture. So I think that ability to invest and diversify that fair trade provides is what really makes it environmental in that sense.
Which commodity is the flagship of fair trade, and why?
I wouldn't want to say one commodity is the flagship. I mean, we've talked quite a bit this Fair Trade Fortnight about sugar, because it's actually something that doesn't get talked about that much, and it's one of the fastest growing products in the fair trade range. And we work with small scale sugar farmers in a number of places, including Belize, Malawi. And what's really interesting is sugar's done very well, and as it's done well, as I say, the farmers have tended to reinvest, and we've actually seen a 30% productivity gain in Belize by the farmers in the fair trade system through a reinvestment into their own farming systems, understanding the soil better, working with it better. So sugar is a big one. Cocoa, coffee, bananas. Bananas are very big in the UK. I think we're nearly at 50% of the UK retail market of packaged sugar. I think bananas is sort of 30 to 40%. Ground coffee, we're at a fairly sort of substantial share of the market now is fair trade, although obviously we're not where we would like to be on instant, which is another big part of the market, so we'd like to do better in instant. Cocoa, we've got most of the major chocolate manufacturers now with one major flagship product using fair trade cocoa. So we're doing well in those products. Cotton is another area where we think there's a lot of potential, but so far we haven't been able to realise that potential, so we would like to see the cotton market grow more. And fruit as well is somewhere where we think there's a lot of potential.
Are fair trade products of a higher quality than their counterparts?
I suppose it depends on how you define quality. Generally speaking, I would say yes. When you give the farmers the opportunity to reinvest, farmers are business people. They understand the importance of quality, and when they have the information and the opportunity, they will invest in their own quality production. So on the whole, I think you'll find fair trade products are of a very high standard, but not necessarily. There's often a perception that they are somehow kind of more expensive and automatically higher quality. And actually you find now that fair trade can be certification can be found right across a range of products. But I think to me, quality should include the farmer getting a fair price and production being sustainable. And so in that sense, I think fair trade does represent a quality.
Has there been a downturn in fair trade purchases due to perhaps shoppers cutting back on their budgets?
Generally speaking, we haven't seen that, or at least we've seen a slowing down, but not a downturn. So growth in 2011 was actually 12%, which is obviously sort of quite a standout performance in a time of economic recession that we're sort of going through at the moment. So shoppers are sticking with fair trade on the whole. That's obviously been boosted by some of the larger companies kind of going fair trade on their products. In some areas, so cut flowers, I talked about cotton, we have seen a move downward, but in other areas it's growing. So it depends a little bit on the product, but overall, no, it's holding up well. And we think people are ethical and they're sticking with it.
Can fair trade continue to go from strength to strength?
I don't think there's any reason why not. There's still huge room for growth. I think sales in the UK due to top 1.3 billion retail figures. Now, that represents a lot, but actually it's less than the price of a cup of coffee per family in the UK per year. So there's huge room for growth. Like I say, we haven't even got to 50% of the potential market in any of the products, even the ones doing very well. So we'd like to think there's a lot of room for growth still.
What would you? How would you encourage somebody that hasn't perhaps purchased a fair trade product as of yet?
Give it a go. go. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, but you may well find that you are purchasing fair trade without necessarily even noticing. So have a good look at the products that you buy on a day-to-day basis. You may be surprised to find how many of those already are fair trade. But also, you know, when you next go shopping, just pause for a moment, have a look at the products, whether that's, you know, you're shopping for cocoa, sugar, coffee, bananas. Have a look. If you're shopping for bananas in Sainsbury's, you will be buying fair trade, because there is no other banana in fair trade but in Sainsbury's but the fair trade banana. But you know, just pause for a moment, have a look, and you'll be surprised by the range and the quality and the price range as well of fair trade products available.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for joining Green Borders. Thank you.